Okay, so I'm back live. This morning we went over our pre-market analysis, and I've been in this trade for a little bit now. It broke our up trade line over here. Again, the trade lines are only there to support our entries and to ride our trade during the, could be a few minutes to half an hour to an hour while we're in the trade. So got in platinum. There's my original price. So I just kind of want to go over it, and I'm still in it now. I don't normally go live while I'm sitting waiting on a trade. I can do that, but after I get in, I like to just to show where I'm at and we can watch it play out. But I know you guys are out there trading, so I don't want to be a distraction to your trading. So basically, I got in when platinum basically pulled down off the 4-hour zone, and then it had obviously broke down through this up trade line, pulled down through the bottom of that 4-hour zone, and then I got in on the pullback. So basically, when it pulled back up toward the zone, I went ahead and jumped in. I was on a smaller time frame, so I saw it pull back down on a 1 minute, pull up and then pull off of the zone a little bit. So I went ahead and got in on that. So I did sit through a little bit of drawdown just right here. It wasn't much from my entry there to the pullback, and my stop was up here where the top of this tool is. So that was where my stop was originally. So we had a nice push down. You'll see it breaking targets. So I've got several targets on, that were drawn on the chart. Let me shut this off, or I'm gonna keep getting text. But anyways, I had several targets drawn off of highs, lows. We'll sit there and draw our targets. So basically, my first target was here on this this low, and then my next target was off of basically this sideways movement, the bottom of that, and then all right. Then I had another target here. I just plucked off of here, this candle body, the top of the bullish candle, and then the bottom of this one, the start of this one. So I had that as a target, picked this low as a target, came back, picked this low as a target, went on obviously to the left of the screen, picked a low here. So, that's where I picked my targets from. Picked a low here, and then I popped one at the bottom near my zone. So this red area down here, this red zone, is our lower zone. I just haven't changed the color to green yet. So if an instrument is above the zone, we'll color that green, and then we'll have one that's kind of a mid zone, that'll be yellow, and then we would have an upper one above this. So I just haven't changed that to green yet. I don't know why, but we'll come in and change that to our green zone. But that's basically my ultimate target, is for this to bounce between zones. Now, we never know if that's going to happen. Okay, we'd love it to. We'd love it to. Every time it gets to this zone, we could short it, trade it down to this zone, and then go long, trade back to this zone. That would be wonderful. It doesn't always happen like that. So that's a true range. But when we start seeing, like in this case, we had a high, it came down to form a low, then it came up to form a lower high. So that's a bearish confirmation setup, and it was off of a zone, a 4-hour zone. So I went ahead and took the trade, and that's what we're in. So my hesitation was here, not to get in. That was one of my targets. We had a target here off this low, and then we have a target here, which is our up trade line, our old one. So that was the only thing that was kind of in my way, that I was thinking, okay, it could bounce there. So it could have full well pulled down and bounced off this. What I went ahead and did, though, I went ahead and took the risk. I had gains locked in. So that was, again, my original entry. Let me pull these back over. So my original entry was right here. And then when it pulled down through, Okay, so it pulled down through, triggered the next alarm, pulled back. So basically I'm looking, going, okay, it pulled back here, technically made a high, 3-minute time frame, just one candle. But then we saw a bearish candle down that broke this low of this candle. So I'm going, okay, I'm calling that a high, lower high. It's real aggressive, real steep. And then it pulled back here, okay? So when it pulled back up here and gave this little evening star pattern, okay, those 3 candles, I stacked on and threw on another contract. So on the pullback, you can throw on another contract. So I threw on another contract on that. And then, no, I'm sorry, it was not on that one. It was after it moved here and pulled back on this one. This is where I added a contract. I'm not even looking at my own notes, guys. See how this is? But right there is where I added a contract. And but that is where I added a contract. So my original entry was here, but it moved down. So the orders will move down when you stack on. So my order moved down, but I was able to move my stop down. So that's something I love, absolutely love to do. Is I'm in with one contract, so you're in light, and then when the instrument moves in your direction, let the market move, pay for your entry. Okay, let the market move, cover your risk. And I absolutely love that. So basically I had to let it go so far, and when it was here, I stacked on another contract. That did move my order down, and I had already pulled to break even. So when it was down in here, this moved down, I pulled my stop to better than break even. But my order was up here. So again, when it pulled back, when it swung back up and gave that red candle, and basically if you look at this swing up, right where it turned was around this low. Basically my line from over here, that area. So I said, okay, it's pulled back. It's respecting that level. It's respecting the back of this uptrend line as resistance. It's respecting this horizontal line as resistance. It's respecting, the low here as resistance. So at that point, I went ahead and threw a contract in. And again, it moves my order down, but I only threw one on, and I moved my stop. So I'm covered. I will not lose anything. I haven't locked anything in yet. I've only locked in where the stop is right now, okay? And that's all I've got locked in. So I'm getting ready to move my stop now. But what I wanted to cover was that I added one on, so because I knew it would move. If I would have added 2 on here, it would have pulled my order down here somewhere, okay? And then I couldn't move my stop to break even because you could get stopped out very easily if it come back up to test this area. So I only stacked 1 on, it moved, I moved my stop so that it's covered. It's a free trade. I've let the market pay for my entry on that second contract. Absolutely love it because it was 300 and something, and basically I caught this move. So on contract one, I have profit from this entry all the way to where we're at now, okay? Contract 2, I have from this price. When I added contract 2 on, it put me in here because it basically pulls your order down. So is what it does. Kind of evens out because here's my entry. But basically I have this move right here. So this push down is profit on contract 2. So, but it is just breaking my targets. We're having a good push on metals. So I recommend always using some kind of targets. Now I'm watching 4 instruments right now, and I'm in 3. So when I do that, I love to use the alerts, use the alarms on your charting. The Ray tool's good. I like that because then later in the day, I can go through and delete these easily. If I draw full on horizontal lines, then later in the day, at the end of the day, I might look and go, wait a minute, was that 4 hours line off of an hour chart? Or so I like to label them targets. You'll see them labeled as targets, and I like to set an alert on those, just something simple. It doesn't have to be anything major, but just set an alert on there. Mine just says platinum hit target 1. And then for the next one, target 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we got 8 targets on this total. So basically I'm trading it down to the zone is my ultimate target. Now you can't put alerts on boxes, unfortunately. So all I did was just throw a line down there. So that line is not attached to a candle. It's just there to let me know that platinum has is near the zone. So at that point, if it hits near the zone, then I might need to look to get out if it breaks a down trade line, which we don't even have yet, and starts giving us a higher high, higher low. So 2 things I would do is, 1, I need to draw a down trade line. I would have 2, 1 from here to here, and that's way out there. It's not really even a steep line, okay? So that's the trade line down, and then I would have 1 from here down. It would be down here now. So just keep in mind your trade lines, trend lines are straight. They're linear, and they will get broken. That doesn't mean the move is over. That's huge. I don't know how I can't stress that enough. That is something huge to remember. Trend lines are straight, they're linear, but the market does not move linear. Okay, the market moves up and down. And since it does, it will break a trade line or trend line. But that doesn't mean that move is over. That's where you have got to wait for market structure to build. Right now, look at where we're at. I drew that trade line off of this high, and it looks like I need to move it to this candle here, right to the top of that. So that is our main down trade line that I'm trading right now. Okay, that's the one we're in. So these only support your trade. And what did I do? Move the whole thing off there? Let me get it to a candle here. I think that one's attached. All right, so that's the down trade line we're trading, and then we have one way out here, okay, that may not even come into play. Now it is, what time is it? 10:38. So we really only look to trade for a couple hours, and basically that's 11 o'clock. So 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock Eastern Standard is when I look to get in. Like to get in 2, 3, 4 trades, entries, and then if we get them moving in one direction like this, that's great. So right now it's broken several targets. I only have 2 left. It's near the down trade line. So what we're looking for, we'd love to see a push, but it has to break this low. It basically has to break this target line. So it basically pulled down and stopped at our target line, our next one. And look at how it came back up, and it's using this target as support. And again, those are off of swing lows. Those are off of lows from the left of the chart. So this line right here is off of this low. So basically, it's pulled down to that level, pulled back up, and it's respecting that level. So right now we're kind of waiting on a push. We'll see if we get it. It could pull deeper. So, and that's something I kind of wanted to cover because it could break this. Right now it's near that trade line. It has to move. I mean, even if it just moves off time, what's time going to do? Well, if it just sits here where it's at and fluctuates back and forth, time is going to push it past our line. That doesn't mean it's a bullish move. So that's what you have to be careful when you're using trend lines. Trend lines are great. I love using trend line and trade lines, but you have to look at the price action. You have to look at the highs and lows. And if you look at those two things together, you'll be really successful. So again, where it is right now, fluctuating back and forth between this low price, this high price, just kind of bouncing in here, that's time. Time's going to push it sideways. So if it doesn't pop above this line to test this last support level as resistance over here, and if it doesn't push past this line, if we don't get a push down off the trend line, that does not mean the move is over. I'm still going to be bearish because we've been moving bearish. Now, I'm not going to stay bearish if I see a higher high and a higher low. That's when I have to change my thinking. So as a day trader, you can create a bias by looking at higher time frames and dial down. But after that, you have to be willing to change if you see market structure form for the other direction. So right now we're making lower lows, lower highs. That is a bearish formation, bearish structure, and that's what we're trading down. If it does break this trend line, I'm going to hold my short, but if it starts forming a higher high, higher low, then I'm going to look to take it long, get out short and take it long. It does not have to go to our zone. I would love for it to, but the market's going to do what the market's going to do. Now, as far as moving the stop, I always like to keep them off of highs and lows. So this would probably be where I'd move my stop. I'd move it right there off of this high bounce. If you want to get tighter with your stop, because I know you're looking right now, we're up, what, 755 on the 2 contracts. And you look at that and you're going, well, that's not a lot of what I've got locked in. It's up 775 and I've got maybe, what, 200 locked in. So if you want to move it a little tighter, you can move it down. Now, some traders will move it right here, down to that. And it really just kind of depends on a personal preference. Some traders will move it about in there and move it off of this high. The only problem I see with that is this is the current high that's forming. That is the current high. Okay? We haven't really had a test of the previous lower high. The previous low is right here. We haven't tested that. 2 nice bearish candles. It pulled back a little bit. It's on under our resistance line, support and resistance line. It has not tested this low or the high. I don't want to see it test the high. If it tests this high, I better be out, because I'm day trading. I don't want it to ride all the way back. I could see it popping through the trade line and pulling up here to test this previous low. So if I put my stop there, to me, that's a riskier place to put my stop than, say, up in here for a pullback, if I want to ride the pullback out. If you want to be even safer, then you're going to pull it back further. That means you're giving up profit, though. Every time, every area that you're further back, it means you're giving up profit. These 3 levels, you have to decide on what trader are you. Are you going to pull it here and be real aggressive with your stop and say, nope, I'm not willing to let it pull back at all. I know it's forming a high. If it doesn't pop and go, if it pulls back to test this high, I'm out. I'm going to get stopped out. But I want all that profit locked in. Okay? That's where you're going to have your stop. That's where I'd recommend it. If you're the trader that says, no, I want to give it that little extra room, I'll go 2 levels back, 2 targets back. So not above this target, but above this target. So you go 2 levels back, keeping it above this high, this low, then that's what you have to decide and say, that's me. I'm that trader. I'm going to give it room, but know that you're giving back a little more profit than the other guy. But you're thinking, okay, if it pulls up and tests this low, so it pulls back up to this line and tests that low, and then starts going down to our zone, you're going to make more profit. But you're willing to give up the profit from here to here. Then that's where you'd have your stop. Okay, that's something that there is no 100% right answer to that. It is a personal preference, and it is up to you. You have to decide. I don't recommend going back and forth ever. Don't go back and forth every trade and say, oh, on this one I'm pulling tight. And then on the swing, look, it'll swing up, hit that, swing down, and just tank. And you're kicking yourself. You're going, wow, I pulled it tight, and it stopped me out. and then just kept on going in my direction. Next time I want to go and put it here. Well, then what happens is you switch, and the next time it pulls back up to test this high and takes you out, and then continues down. Well, then you say, well, I wish I would, or it goes further up. And you're like, man, I gave up extra profit because I have my stop here. I don't want to give up extra profit on my next trade. Next trade, you do this. And then it stops you out and goes on again. So I don't recommend ever switching back and forth during the day, during the week even. Make up your plan as to how you're going to move your stop and stick to that for the week. At least the week. Okay, I know you guys are trying to dial stuff in. So just pick the plan, pick your stop area, and then say, this is what I'm doing this week. And then work it that week. And at the end of the week, as you're journaling and tracking your trades, then at that point you can, I'm going to move mine right here. At that point, then you can decide. So we're seeing it pull back. So if you would have pulled your stop tight off of, this high that's forming, and it's hard to kind of even call it a high. I mean, this candle pulled down here and closed up. We've been sideways. So really consolidated in there. So right now I would have stopped out Trader 1. Trader 1, 2, and 3 in there. And again, there's no right or wrong way to this. It's a personal preference. You can back test it easily. You can forward test it live, in demo, strategy, whatever you want to do. But it's totally a personal preference. So for me, I'm watching highs and lows. I don't ever like to move my stop like this, tight like that. I like to give it that room to go back and test a previous high or low. So for me, it would either be here. I mean, I moved it off this one. I'm giving it a little extra room, or it would have been here. And the reason here is because I think it's going to come back. I mean, we are pulling back now, but when it was down here, it never really pulled back to test this low. So that's what I was expecting, and that's what we're getting. So anyways, we can kind of watch it play out. I know I really don't like to sit and just watch candles, so because that's really all I've got to say about this. I just want to kind of cover the stop placement and the stop movement as you're trading. So it's pulling up the test. These are 3-minute candles, so it's going to take 3 minutes for each one to form. But we can kind of watch it for a few. I don't even know how long we've been on here. I guess I should have started a clock. So this is what I'm talking about, though, as far as it broke our trade line, too. So it broke the down trade line that we had on these swings. So is the downward movement over? I don't know. I can't say that. So another point that you have to do and decide is when you're going to get in when these trend lines are broken. Okay, like this one here. This one was an up trade line over here. It was broken off of, it swung up here in the zone, broke through. I did not get in on that candle. I waited for it to pull back up, to test the zone, basically. And I'm glad I did. I got in at a better price. I got in at this price right here versus getting in down here. So a little extra profit there. A little safer trade for me is on the pullbacks. So if I get in when it breaks a trend line, I go in light. You can't really go in light on platinum, well, unless you're trading 2 or 3 contracts. So if I've got 100% setup or better, 110, 120, because sometimes we get them, I'll go in with 2 or 3 contracts, but never on a trend line break. If I just get in on a trend line break like this, I would want to put 1 on, definitely. But when it pulled back and tested the area, I went ahead and just still put 1 on. And then, of course, we had the nice move down. So now we broke the trend line. And again, these trend lines often aren't broke off moves. Sometimes they're just broke off of time where they go sideways. So that's what you got to kind of watch. Overall, we're looking for a high and low to form. So right now we have a low here, and then we have a lower high here. This high that it's creating right now is lower than this one. Okay, so right now it's still bullish for me. There's a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And now it's lower high. So as long as we see it pull back through this to come back down in here, I'm going to call that a lower high. But right now it's not really done forming. I mean, I see 2 candles there. So for me, that's not good enough. If I see a red candle come down, well, then I'm going to call that a lower high. So right now it's starting to form. We have to wait till this one's done. I'd love to see this come down and form as a nice, decent red candle. Then I'm going to call that a lower high. So for me, that's still bearish movement. We're still in a bearish pattern, bearish structure. Lower lows, lower highs. Would really love to see it pull past here, of course, to our zone and make a lower low than this one. But time of day is getting into what we're doing as well, because we're almost at 11 o'clock Eastern. So we're getting around, into that right before lunch U.S. session, but that's also when the London boys leave and shut down for the day overseas. So you got one market closing. During the U.S. market, 8 o'clock a.m. to 11 is your best time, because you have 2 markets open. You've got the London boys still trading, and you got the U.S. market open. So you have a lot of big market movers that are trading during those 3 hours. And then, like I said, then at lunch, you've got the London boys are closing down. So they're closing down overseas. So you've only got one set. You've only got the U.S. session traders still open. And of course, we not only have market makers manually trading, but we also have the bots now, and have for a long time that we're trading against. So keep that in mind. So right now, let's see, how many minutes do we have for a candle, or seconds probably? So we got like 22 seconds. So this is probably going to close red. So I'm calling it a lower high. So right now that is a lower high. We would want to see it break through this zone or this level and then say, okay, we're still in that bearish pattern. If it comes in and it starts going green again, and we see it push up through here past this high, well then what we're looking at is possibly a bullish pattern. So I don't ever take a break right away. So we have a couple things going for us. It broke, lower high, so we're still bearish. It pushed back. It's testing the backside of the trend line and this support level. So if it comes up and we start seeing green and it pops back up and breaks this high and comes up in here and then pulls back, well, now I'm saying, okay, we have a higher low, higher high. That would be bullish, and we would trade it on up out to here, out to this outer down trade line. Okay, so right now I'm not seeing that. Right now we're still pushing bearish. So got about 5 minutes till 11. So again, trader 1, stop there, you're out. And you're looking to get back in. So, that's the thing. That's where it becomes that preference. I could tell you this. I know I traded platinum twice last night. It was up near the zone. And when it was up near the zone and pulled back through, I got in short. And it barely went down. And then it pulled back up. I'd moved my stop down a little tighter, pulled back up, stopped me out. And then guess what? It was in here in the middle. I think it tested the middle of the zone, pulled back down, got in short again. And then on that one, I was able to, I put on 2 contracts, and I was able to close one out, move my stop, and then, but still got stopped out on that second one. So, That's why you need to go in light on these. I wish they had I wish you could trade micros on this. So we're up 80, well, we were 789, 785. It's dropping as it comes back. So right now, to me, it's just, see where it's just tested that line and it's pulling back. Again, does not mean I need to panic. I don't ever panic. I gave that up a long time ago. Guys, I know when I started trading, there was a bottle of Tums on my desk and a bottle of aspirin. I haven't had that in a long time. But yeah, bottle of Tums, antacids, and something for my headaches. But you get used to it over time. So you don't panic. You got to watch the candles play out and watch the moves form. And this is how you should look at every trade. Just, it should never be a panic trade. It just can't. But see, I planned ahead. So when it pulled down through here, I wasn't in. So when I had an alarm. See that little, well, that's off this line. I took it off. But I had an alarm right here on this trade line. So when it broke through, I was alerted because I have 4 charts open at a time. 4 charts just on TradingView. And then I have 2 other platforms, 2 other brokers open on my computer. So I've got a lot going on. And I not only trade the 4 here through TradingView and Tradevate, but I've got 4 open on both the other brokers as well. So I'll trade these trades in multiple platforms. So right now I have this same trade on 3 different brokers. Okay. But the alerts, and I use only the alerts on this one platform. I don't need them on all. But when it crossed through, the alarm went off and it pulled through. So I'm waiting on a pullback. So I'm looking at 3-minute candles, waiting for the thing to pull back. And while I'm waiting, I go in and draw these. I draw the horizontal ray tool. I go down, look at my wicks, look at my lows in here, drew that line, set an alarm, drew this line, labeled it as target, set an alarm. I don't really have to label it as target. I just do that for the videos. But come in, boom, draw another one, label it as target, put alarm. And then, I scrolled back, and that's where I came in over here and picked this low, put another one on there, label it target, set an alarm. Took this one, label it target, set alarm. I'm always going to go right here first, right where it is the closest, because if I get in, then I want to be alerted. So once I set all the alerts on down, then at that point I don't have to look at this anymore. I could put it away and then just wait for the alerts to go off. And that's for moving my stop. Okay? So, and you don't have to set all these alerts. So I got in here. My stop loss was above the high. Okay, I always recommend going above the swing high. If that stop is too tight for you, above the swing high, then don't take the trade or go in lighter with your contracts. If you typically go in with 10 micros, let's say, and you look at your entry here and where your stop loss is supposed to be, well then, if that's too far for you, go in a little lighter. But you don't have to set all these alerts. But I want an alert set so I can move my stop loss. That's the biggest thing. So this was where I entered, stop loss way above here. And then basically this would be my first alarm, which is what it is. But let's say you wanted to wait till it was down here. Then don't put a line here on the first one. Put one here, set an alert, and then you could look at other instruments. And then when this alert is triggered and goes off, you're going to pull back to this chart, and then you'll see where it's at, and you can go, oh, okay. And you'll move your stop down to break even or halfway down to lock in some profit. Okay? So I definitely do recommend using the alerts and alarms, because how often do you walk away from the computer to go get a coffee? I know I do. So if I go to get a coffee, I'm normally coming right back. But I'll still set an alert, because if I decide I'm going to do something upstairs, or the wife asks me to do something, throw some laundry in, well, then I'm away from my computer a little bit longer. And I don't like that. And she knows that I like being here at the computer from 8 to 11. And really 8 to noon till I take lunch. So that being said, sometimes she'll ask me, hey, can you throw a load in the wash? And so I'm doing that. Well, I have my phone with me. And then, of course, if the alert goes off here, I'll get it on my phone. The alerts, I get the alerts sent out to me. So it had a nice push off that. And here's an Evening Star. You'll see these all over the place. You know, I always talk about candle patterns. That is a lovely, actually, Evening Star, pretty decent. I don't let them hold a lot of weight for me on the 3 minute. If I see that on a 15-minute time frame, I'm taking that trade. But again, I don't, smaller time frames than that, I don't let them hold up, because they typically don't hold up very well. So candle patterns are great if they're 15 minutes and up. Even a 10's decent, but 15 minutes and up is when I look at candle patterns and say they're really valid. They're way more valid on a 15-minute time frame and above. If I see a candle pattern on a 4-hour chart or 1 hour, it's like a golden signal. So we're up 805. And this is where, you know, you guys have to decide how much you need per day. I mean, we're almost up to 1,000 on this. So, you know, $1,000 a day, 20 trading days. I mean, you know, how much do you need a month? Don't Lambo trade. I know some people that do. They Lambo trade. They watch the Insta gurus and the Facebook gurus, and here we go. We're about to target. Bam, there we go, guys. So we're up 945. Should I close one off? Two? This is what I have to decide. Do I want to move my stop? And I am going to move my stop because we formed a lower high. This was our high. This was our low. We came down and formed a lower low. It came up to test the previous low. And now it's pulled down. We're forming another low. So I'm going to move my stop, not right to the tick, because I could see it pulling up here. If you look and kind of envision what it could do, we know it formed a low. So this is a lower low than this one, but we know it's going to come back. We know it should pull back. And we want to see it form a lower high than this one. Well, sometimes they come back up and double top. You know, hit here again, and then go. I want to stay out of the way of that. In case it decides, instead of coming back and forming a lower high, say here, you know, right in this area, it decides it's going to come back and test the price level here, which is this high and this low. I want to stay out of the way of that. That's just me. Again, that doesn't mean that is 100% I'm golden here. Again, personal preference. You have to decide. So that doesn't mean that that is going to work for everybody, because I'm willing to give in to profit here. Now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to close one out. So I'm going to adjust here my contract. We're up about 8 something. I know it's pulled back something. I'm busy talking. And I'm not going to say, I don't want to say, okay, I'm going to wait for it to pull back down and close. I'm closing now. Because if I don't, if I keep talking and don't close, it could pull way back up here. I'm losing a little more. So that's just a chance you take. Should I close one contract out right now? Or should I wait for it to pull down? I don't know how many times I've done it where I've closed it right now and it shot down, back down. I should have closed it right when I was there, but busy talking. I don't know how many times again I'll close it and it goes back down, and then I miss the opportunity. There it is. So I'm going to go ahead and buy one and see how the order moves. So I bought one, which closed off one of my shorts, and it moved the order clear down here. So as the orders move, that's still out of the way for me, okay, for the order, and my stop's here anyways. So I don't mind that the order moved because it's still above my stop. So we have to come in and modify the stop, and we have to change that to a 1. So now we have 1 on, we have our stop out of the way, and we got about 295 sitting on the table left on the trade right now, about 300. So we're just gonna have to wait it out and watch and see what happens. So overall, we had 8 targets hit on the trade, which is phenomenal. This was a big swing back, you know, and if you look, guys, big red candle, pull back, lower low, lower high, evening star right there, those 3 candles, push down through an old trade line, which is great. And then, but look at this. So it formed the lower low, and look at where it pulled back to. It pulled back and turned right here where? Off that low. Okay, so that's why you got to mark them. Lower lows, lower highs. Look at your market structure. So right now it's forming a lower low. So still bearish confirmation. So where do? We need to move our trade line out, but right now it's testing the back side of that trade line. It's still testing the back side. It pulled up, form a lower high, pulled back to test the back side of the trade line. And sometimes we see what I call a channel shift. So right now it was pulling down here, and we have a trade line. Well, it went over the trade line and it's pulled back to test it, trend line, trade line. And as it pulls back to test it, sometimes you'll see it channel down the back side. So it is something to keep in mind. That's why I said the move isn't always over. Okay? The direction's not always over. Just off a trend line break, that is not enough. Because how many of you would have taken this, that break of that trade line? How many of you would have been in short, and when it broke that said, oh, it's going long, I'm closing. Closed out your short and taken a long. Well, guess what? You would have had your stop down here, or should have. If you got in long there, your stop would be down here below this low. You know, nice consolidated sideways movement, broke the trade line, and then broke the top of this consolidated movement, and you'd said, hey, I'm going long, I'm out. I'm reversing order. Closing my short, going long. You stop below the low, well, guess what? You just got stopped out. You sat through this thinking, okay, it just pulled back into that sideways movement. It's going to still go long. And it could form that over here. We could see it form this low, go up, form a high, pull back, form a higher low, higher high, and then go through and break these and pull way up here out to that. That could still happen, but that's why you don't just take a trend line break. I don't recommend it at all. So we could move our trade line out, or we could draw another one. So we have that one. We could come in and just draw a secondary one from up there to this one. I'm not going to label it. We know what it is. I like those dashed only because I'm going to delete them at the end of the day. And you see how sloppy my charts get right now. There are a ton of lines. And that is normally any chart I'm in, any instrument I'm in. There's a ton of lines on there. We've got 8 alarm lines that are new that were just set up for this trade. Those have to come off. I've got my trade lines. This one I was trading earlier. That line has to come off. And then this one and all 3 of these down trade lines. I need to pull the order tool off there. I don't set these up, guys. You can come in and set these up and put in your if you want to use this tool, you can actually come in and set this up with a dollar amount, and whatever your account is, you can put in that size and do adjustments. And the only thing that's good for is if you click on that, you can right click on it and go in and place a trade right there, create limit order. And what that's going to do is that will open up your trade panel with the defaults in there you set up, but it's kind of a pain. So I don't use it that way. I don't even like seeing the prices come up when I do that. So right now it's hit our zone. We hit our last target. We hit our zone. That is a 4-hour zone. So what does that mean for me? That means that this move could be over because this 4-hour zone is off a 4-hour time frame. It's off a 4-hour swing higher, swing low. And when I say swing high and swing low, I'm not talking about these little tiny swings. I'm talking about like this big swing on a 4-hour time frame. Something like that on a 4-hour time frame goes up one way, goes back down. That's why we have the yellow zone here off of a swing like that. That's why we have the green zone. So right now it's hit our target, and it may actually, it's either going to break back into that zone, shoot to the bottom. I don't know if it's going to find full support here. It may not. So it's either going to find full support here, bounce up. It might pull deeper into the zone, like the mid zone, find full support there, and then swing up. It may go to the bottom, find support and swing up. It may go through this zone completely. So I'm not going to look to go long out to this outer trade line, back up here to this zone until I see structure form. So we need to see structure form in platinum. Right now, structure is to the downside. Lower lows, lower highs. That's my bias. I have to keep it that way. Lower lows, lower highs. Lower lows, lower highs. I'm bearish. I'm bearish all day long if this wants to keep forming lower lows, lower highs. So if it keeps doing this all day, I'm going to just keep thinking bearish. Hang on. I got to let the pooch out. All right, we've got an office dog in here. And potty break for the office dog. So here we are, it's trying to push. So this is what I do on every trade. And this is about how calm you need to be. I like the 3-minute time frame. I used to trade 15, it's super boring. I've traded hour, 4 hour. I will trade on some of those and stay in. I've got several different accounts, so it depends on what account I'm on. These accounts here, I'm trading on this. I'm shorter time frame, and so I'm typically down on a 5 or 3 for entry. I like the 3. The 3 gives me enough time to take a sip of coffee, look away from the chart, look at several charts, look in Discord. So the 3 gives me enough time for that. The 5 is a little bit slow for me, and then the 1 minute is rapid. So the 1 minute time frame I only dial down during a news release. So right before a news release, and I could already be in a trade. It doesn't matter if I'm in or not yet, but I will dial down to 1 minute to watch a news release. So the 3 is pretty comfortable. So you see it's pushing through that zone. So that is totally why I'm not bailing on my short, okay, at all, and until we see higher high, higher low. So I'm going to stay in. So right now I could move my stop to this level, and it should be safe. If it pulls back up, we have a low here that it popped to. So if you imagine what it could do, it could pull back up and test that low. It's all about scenarios. What do you think this could do? Well, I'm going to look for 2 things. I'm going to look for it to continue short, but also have my eyes open for it to start to signal for long. So again, I'm gonna be watching it for short. We're in short. I'm going to ride that out. As long as it is making lower lows, lower highs, I'm in short. If it makes a higher high, higher low, I have to start thinking that it could be changing direction. But until that point in time, I'm staying in. Right now, it's hitting a 4-hour zone. So is it going to pop through, run through? If I was going to walk away from the machine for a while, I would grab one of these lines, pop it in here, and just set an alarm in there for it. And I'm not going to walk away, but grab your text, and I would come in and do something like that and just pop a alarm line in there. Oh, I don't know why I double click on that all the time. I love using alarms. It's I could leave that in there, hit target, and then just, I wouldn't, put in target 9. I would put in mid zone on this. So it hit a target, mid zone, and then I just always have the price on there. So that's an alarm set on there. So again, if I walk away, I'm going to know it hit that. Now, one other thing I could do is, so we have 2 targets it's at right now. I'm taking this one off. I really don't, well, we'll leave it on there. But this one's kind of dead. It was already triggered as it pulled down. If it pulls down deeper to the mid zone, then I would take this alarm and relabel it. That, and I don't really want to do it now. But I would come in and change this one. And instead of target hit, I would come in and change this to say, whoops, hang on, the upper zone level broken. Again, I don't want to actually put that on right now because it's right there fluctuating. But if it pulls down to the mid zone, I'm going to set up 2 more alarms. I'm going to set up an alarm at the bottom of the zone, but I'm also going to take this alarm line, like I just showed you, and I'm going to relabel it. And I'm going to say upper zone level broken. So what that's going to do is, again, I won't do it till it pulls down here. If it pulls the middle, then I'm going to set that alarm up there. So as it pulls back up, if it goes back through, then I'm alerted that the upper zone levels broke. And that we might be setting up for a bullish signal. But ultimately, we have to see highs and lows. And this one you could change here. Change the alarm on this one. And I would just, previous low broke. Previous lows tested, or being tested. So if it pulls back up here, it'll trigger that. And that's just going to tell us that the previous low, which is over here, is being tested. And then now I can go look at something else. So alarms are very key when I trade. It's one of my key components. The target levels is the primary, but setting alarms on those. So I know it looks like a lot. All I've done again is when I got in the trade, got in back here, I just went down and picked lows, plucked out the lows, and set alarms. And if you're going to sit and watch it, if this is the only thing I was trading, and I knew I wasn't going to walk away, if that's it, this is the one chart I'm trading for the day, and I know I'm not going to walk away from my computer, I don't need to set the alarms. I could just set the alarm. I don't need to label them target if I don't want to. I just set the lines on there and then watch them and adjust my stop accordingly. But trading multiple instruments, and I don't care if you're watching 4-inch, on this big monitor, these are 42-inch screens. So this is a 42-inch monitor, just this one. And I can have 4 charts on this open at one time, and they're still decent size for me to watch. So if that's something you're doing, and you can watch 4 at a time, then that's great. But if your monitor is smaller than that, and I've got two, I did have three of these, but I just took one out because I had them turned vertical. A little stiff. My neck was like, yeah, looking up. So my neck was getting stiff, and it's sore now. So last weekend I took one down and turned these back horizontal. So I have two, but it's a huge screen. I mean, I know it may not look that big on the video, but this is 42 inches long, 22 inches tall. So it's decent. I can watch four. I could turn this into the quad chart. You'll see I have the quad chart up here, and I can go quad on it and have four. I mean, pick 3, 4, but there's 4 set up on it. I have a trade over here too. I guess we could look at that, my ES trade. I got a few on. So here's my ES trade that I got in earlier, and if you notice something very similar, guess what? I got lines on this chart too. All over, guys. Those are my targets. So again, getting in and setting up targets. I only have 2 runners on this. I need to move my stop. So I only have 2 runners left. So I closed out partial when it popped down and hit my second target. So that was this one right here. Yeah. So when it popped down, I closed out part of my trade. So I need to move my stop. I like that level, that level. Where do you move your stop? Again, you have to be, you have to select what type of trader you are. So right now we've got, what, 215 on a runner. And again, that's, what is that? Well, if you got 10 trading days, that's 2,000. So we're looking at $4,000 extra a month just on 2 runners like this per day. And again, your runners don't always pan out. So I'm not trying to hype that up at all. I like leaving runners on so I get more of the move. My daily bread, the money I make, lock in, that I need each day to make my weekly goal in order to make my monthly paycheck, that's locked in on closing partial. That's why I close partial. I have to make something. I can't sit here all day, leave my stop where it is, and have it come back and ultimately hit my stop, hoping for a bigger move. I have to lock in money each day. My wife will kill me if I don't. So, that being said, let's lock in money every day. So right now I'm at, what 187? My stop's not quite halfway back. So right now, if it pulls back and stops me out, I could lose back, lose half that. So let's lock one in. We'll go ahead and change this to 1, and we'll do a buy since we're in short. So it closed out 1, and I need to take and modify this order. And modify my stop. So I only have 1 left on that, and it's only up 100. So we locked in another 100, and that's a bonus. That's 1 bonus. I've got the other one on platinum that's been running. So that's a $100 bonus, and that's $500 a week. Just getting that locked in. But we still got more locking in if it pulls back to hit us. So I could see it pulling back up to this line, testing this high here, testing this low. I'm done with it for the day. I'm not looking to get back in. So I really don't have to look at this. So this is where, it's about 11:30. I normally eat lunch at 12. So really this is the time I'm kind of doing some other stuff. I'm not looking to get into a trade. 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern, that's my time to look to get into a trade. I'm only looking at 11 a.m. to get into a trade if I haven't gotten anything. And the chances are very slim. I'm typically in a trade between 8 and 9. So I'm typically in trades before the U.S. stock market opens. Now, if I see that 100% setup at 11 o'clock, 11:30, even 12 before lunch, if I'm looking at the chart and I see 100% setup, yes, I'll take it. But I'm not looking. That's the thing. I'm not really looking. So right now I'm not looking to get into another trade. I'm done. Now all I have to do is monitor these. I am in this one, which is in a little negative, and that's back on oil. So I did trade oil short, and I got in kind of late on the pull down. So I was trading oil short off of our zone, trading it back to here. So that's my negative right now. It's not all that bad. And then we go back to platinum. I'm not in gold. I was in gold on part of this move down, and when it pulled back, I moved my stop aggressive and it pulled out. I thought about shorting when it was back up around this zone, pulled back up there, but I've been watching platinum. So that's my big runner for the day is on platinum. ES, we've moved stop. We're fine with that. If it pulls back and pulls me out, I'm okay giving that back. And I could check back on that later. I'm not even going to set an alarm on it because, like I said, I'm getting ready. I'll be going to lunch at noon. So at that time, when I come back for lunch, I'll look in on ES, see where it's going. So I don't have a alarm line set on it. It blew through my targets. And right now it's sitting around this support and resistance level. So a lot of sideways movement, looking for it to break this low to continue, looking for it to break that high to reverse it. But I'm not going to be here to reverse it because I'm not looking for a trade long or to get in any trade. So we know platinum's in our zone and it's about down to our mid zone. And you see it's teetering around the trend line. Again, that's why you can't use the trend lines. You can use them. I love using them as trade lines in here. However, again, they're linear, so they're going to break through. Just time itself will, like we had up here, time itself pushed it through. And then, of course, we had a little pullback, but it had nowhere to go. So this inner trade line was off that high to this swing high, and the candles were here when we were talking about it. It had nowhere to go but through the line. Could have pushed down, and it pushed up after. But time, it could have moved sideways after. I've seen that time and time again, especially at night. If you're trading during off hours in the market, then don't expect stuff to pop through a trend line and then move. That would be foolish of me to sit there and be trading off market hours and expect a move after trend lines broke. So riskier trades because you're trading off hours. But if you want to take a chance, only use profits from the week before. So right now I'm sitting overall good. I'm not going to, I don't know. I don't really want to move my stop anymore. If I did, it would be between these two lines. I never move it down to a line. I'm not going to put it right there because I could see platinum pulling back up, going back through, hitting this. This one here, I could reset this line. And what were we going to say? That this is pulling back through the top of the 4-hour zone. And you don't have to put all this in there, but these alerts are going out. And I want to know when it's breaking out of the top of the trend. So, or breaking out through the top of the zone. So I'm going to leave that line above it. Now, if you wanted to know if it was approaching the top of the zone, well, then I would move it here. And if I move the line here, I would actually word that platinum is approaching the top of the zone. So you want to be aware that there's possibly going to be a break through the top of the zone. But for me, I'm going to just put it above, and I'll know that it's breaking out of the top of the zone. I don't even think I got that pulled up. So with the stop, you have to decide Where are you going to move it right now? I mean, am I going to leave it here where it is? Give it all that room to, to move? I need to close some of this. Or am I going to move that down in between these two? I could, you got to look at what it could do. And it could do anything at once. It could keep pushing down. We're slowing down. To me, we're slowing down. Look at all those wicks. I mean, we had a lot of wicks here during this sideways movement, but it did do a last push up and then push down, but we're seeing a lot of wicks in here. So it's slowing down. Anyone know why it's slowing down? Well, we're at a 4-hour zone. So we're at a 4-hour swing. So it makes sense that it would slow down. Can it push through this zone? 100%. It could push all the way through. We could get all of a sudden a big giant red candle. I'm not going to plan for that. I don't know if that's going to happen. My crystal ball is broke. So I'm not going to plan for a large red candle right now when it breaks the middle of this zone. Can we get that? Sure. My plan is we're extended right now. This thing really pushed down. Nice straight move down. Really not really any pullbacks. A little kind of sideways in here. Another little push down. We had a couple candles push down. A little sideways movement, push down. So it's kind of extended without any pullback. A lot of times you get a big pullback after that. Now a big pullback isn't way up here. A big pullback's maybe to test this high right here. So my stop might actually be pulled down too close. I just kind of pulled it and dragged it there. But it could be clear back here. So on the larger pullbacks, we have to say, okay, it'll pull back and break back out of the zone, pull up here to test this high, or even this one. It could still go short after that big move. So we have to look for the structure. Now, if it pulls up, tests one of these, pulls back, and gives us, it'll give us a high higher than this one, has to be higher than that one. I have to see right now a high go up, and it could be test this, but it has to be higher than this high over here. Ultimately, if it breaks over that a little bit. So breaking over this line a little, coming back down to maybe bounce here off top of the zone to give us a higher low. Well, then now I've formed a higher high, higher low. I've got to be thinking bearish. And I would look to get in on that bounce. Need to see a green candle before I jump in. I don't want to enter long on a bearish candle. Ever. And I don't enter short on a green candle. I like to wait. That's why, like on this one, I was down on a 1-minute time frame and got in on a 1-minute red candle. So I think it could pull, like I said, up here to form a higher high. And if it does that, then my stop's okay to leave it out. And then if it comes down and forms a higher low, and I'm looking to get in bullish, if it comes, like I said, if it comes up here, forms a higher high than that, and then comes back down here and starts to turn and gives me a green candle, well, that's my higher low. Well, then I would look to close out my short and get in long. So I am going to lose some back. I would lose back some profit from like closing right now to this point where I'd get in long. But right now we're still moving bearish. Trade line, you can kind of push it out because as it's moved down, it moves sideways here. Again, that's time. That's time pushing it. I'd move it out. I'm still going to leave this other on. I'll delete that here in a little bit. But that's the one we were in between. That just shows you how it can pop a trend line. That does not mean the move's over, ever. Don't ever take it that a trend line break is a reversal. You need to see the market structure set up. I'll probably keep this going till about, I was going to say 12. We got about, 24 minutes? I think that'd be long enough. I don't know when we went on live with this. Fun stuff. Alert was triggered on that. Let me pull that. All right. Fun stuff, isn't it? Waiting on candles to form and close. Guys, this is, let me save this out. I do recommend set up some kind of alert that goes to your phone. Most everybody keeps their phone with them, so I recommend setting up some kind of alert that actually will alert you on your phone in case you step away or run down the street. I don't know. I mean, I live in town, so if I decided I was going to run out for lunch and just grab something quick and come back, which I hate doing, then I want these alarms set up, these alerts. So set up an alert that triggers. This is the one that we just hit, the mid zone. So platinum hit target, 7 hit target 8. That was from earlier as it got down toward the zone. You don't have to set up alerts on all these, but if you're going to move your stop, if you're thinking if it gets down to this target, target 7, I want to move my stop then. Well, then set an alert up in case you walk away. But then the last alert we had was platinum hit the target, mid zone is what we had for our target, was our middle zone. All right, I gotta shut that back down. So we're just pushing. That's all it's doing. Wow. Got someone to hit me up on Discord. I asked him, he's hello, how you doing today? How's trading going? I said, oh, I'm doing all right. Something about, have you been trading long? Yeah, not really. Been doing all right. Then he says, oh, I see. How are the signals been lately for you? And I gave him a signals, question mark. Are you selling signals? He goes, no, I'm not, but I do have friends that give me free signals. This is the kicker. But then again, drop shipping be doing better than trading if it's taken seriously with the right steps. So someone else trying to sell drop shipping, and that's spam. It's a pain in the rear. So we're just pushing on through. So now I'll consider moving my stop. It's gotten into the zone. It could still pop back up and test that for a setup. But as far as I'm concerned, I've got 450 on this bonus trade. And I shudder to really call it a bonus trade. You know, shudder's the wrong word, but hesitate to call it a bonus trade because we can't trade micros on platinum. So it's full contract trade. But we had 2 on, so. And this is, you know, the last one we got on this. Can't close anymore. So the only way to manage it is by moving the stop. I'm not going to set an alert at the bottom, but I would take this line here and go ahead. I do have an alert actually already on that. Oh, that was from when it was moving up. So I could just relabel that down. I needed to cross down below that line, alert once per bar close. So I'm setting that up where it's going to just alert me when it breaks through this line, but it has to be a bar close. So I don't just want price to pop through there briefly and give me an alert. So right now that's set up only for bar close. This one was triggered that it hit mid zone. Right now that's going to stay that way. It's already triggered. So if it pulls down here toward the bottom of the zone, I will come back up and I can change this alarm and change it around and change it to where it says hit target mid zone, or I could put mid zone crossing up, and I would have to change it here. Not just crossing, I want it to cross up and once per bar close. And that's how I would set that up. Again, I can't really set it up now because that's where we're at. We're right at it, so it would be triggered now. So I'm not going to do that. But if it goes down to the bottom of the zone, then if I need to be alerted when it hits the middle, that's how I do it. And then I can come back and look if you're not at your computer. So as far as moving the stop, you know, it's right here. If I wanted to get more aggressive, I could move it down here to lock in more. But for me, it's a bonus. So on this one, we're up about 450 on it, and my stop looks like it's about halfway down. So we have about 225. So again, that's $200 on just one. And that's not to mention what we locked in earlier. So we're up quite a bit on the day just on everything we've traded. Nothing exciting. Now, we'll be back for Power Hour. We'll do Power Hour today. It's either going to be ES, NQ, or Gold. One of the three. And I don't try and trade multiple. It'd have to be really moving slow. If it's moving slow during Power Hour, I might have 3 charts up, and it would be NQ, ES, and Gold. And then we'll look to see how things are set up. Sometimes Power Hour things don't move till like the last 5 minutes before closing. And that's, of course, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern. That's when the stock market closes, at 4 p.m. Eastern. So it's that last hour. Market makers close in position. Their bots close in position. So we definitely want to get in that. Power Hour is fun. You'll get losses. I get losses Power Hour. It might be because, you know, sometimes it's going sideways, up and down. Picture it in this box right here. It just moved down. So if it moved down, back up, and then started to turn, we would trade it short. It goes short. Well, then when it gets to the bottom, I would have a trade line down, 1 minute time frame, trade line down, and if it breaks that trade line, I'm in long. I mean, because it's quick. So I'd say, okay, it's at the bottom of that. It's back at this previous low. It's bouncing. It's broke the trade line. I don't wait. It's different than this trade line being broke. Okay, this is a 3 minute time frame, and we're not trading Power Hour. Power Hour will whip back and forth. And sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll blast through and go. But yes, on Power Hour, like if I was trading, let's say it bounced here. So let's say it pulled down here, pulled back up, and then we're getting this run down. and it's going back down here to the bottom where it already tapped here 1 or 2 times. 1 time's all we need. So it pulls back down, it breaks that trade line, boom, we're in. We're in long, trading it to the zone. Well, sometimes it'll just keep going short, and then that's going to be a loss. And then when it pops through the bottom of the zone, you reverse your trade. You're in long from the trade line break, 1 minute time frame, and then it pops through, and then you jump in short. So it's a little, it's riskier, it's different. So what I like to do with as far as my account management is news trading. I like to take some profit from the week before. I don't like to dip into what I make for my daily, my monthly living expense. So whatever it may be, if you need to make $1,000 per week, and last week you made $1,000, then don't risk any of that getting into riskier trades this week. If you need to make $1,000 a week and you've made $1,300 last week, well then you've got $300 to play with, $300 extra. So that $300 extra, you say to yourself, I'm going to trade power hour. I have $300 I can lose, and then I'm done. Monday you trade power hour. If you lose the whole $300, guess what? The rest of the week you do not trade power hour. Because you need to make your daily goal first. Your first and primary goal should be locking in your paycheck for the month. So again, if you made $1,300 last week, let's only risk $300 this week for power hour or for news trading. If that is lost on Monday or Tuesday, you stop trading power hour or news, because that's it. That's all you had extra. You need to keep the $1,000 that you made last week for your paycheck at the end of the month. And then whatever you end up at the end of this week, because first off, you have to make $1,000 this week. If you end up with $1,500 this week, you have $500 to play with next week on riskier entries. So it's hitting near bottom. Getting there. I'll go about 12 more minutes. It'll be noon, and then we'll stop. Nothing exciting, telling you. It's not always exciting. The exciting move is over here where it pushed. I'm just gonna put upswing in there for mid-zone. I don't think I changed the parameters. So we need it crossing up, bar close, alarm set. So alarm set there on mid-zone. Since, I got about 12 more minutes and then I'm gonna go get lunch, so I want an alarm set there. I'm gonna walk away from the computer. Now I'll set this back up on my quad charts before. I guess we should check on ES. Well, nothing exciting. Imagine that. And again, I'm not in gold. I'm still in oil over here short. I got in late. I got in when it dropped down too far. And that was kind of a knee-jerk jump in. I mean, it's at the 4-hour zone, so I should be able to trade that short. And short's my bias because it was on the 4-hour zone. But it's just had other ideas. It's just nothing but sideways. Gold, that was the bounce to get in. Of course, it's really ain't done nothing. But ES has just kind of moved more sideways and everything. It's gone down a little bit. I'm not moving my stop on that. I want it to make a lower low, and this is not it. That's not low enough. I mean, it is lower than this, but 3-minute time frame, this is more just rounding over. So I'm going to leave my stop out of the way in case it decides to come back up and test this high right here. So my stop is out of the way. It's above one of my targets. That's a little piddly trade. It's about up 120. So that's only 60 on that bonus. And we closed out the other half of the bonus earlier. So, I mean, I got one. If I close it out now, that's 125 on the bonus trade. If it comes back and hits my stop, it's 60 because that's about halfway. So I don't like to move my stop tight. I like to give it that room. And oil's kind of taking a run at that previous low. I'm gonna put a line there, but I'm not setting an alarm on it. If it can break that, if it can break that, it's got this low. And if it can break that one, then look for it to go clear down the zone. Platinum's about down to the bottom. It almost hit near it. Broke the trend line, trade line. Again, don't think that the short's over. So many people that trade trend lines, as soon as they're broke, say, okay, it's over. Trend's your friend till the trend's at the end. So always trade with the trend. And that is true. But, again, trend lines are linear. I'm looking at the market structure. And so far we have really no structure on this last little leg. So we have good market structure here. We had a high. We had a high, low, lower high. We got in on the lower high and bounced off the 4-hour zone. Got in on that. Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Awesome, beautiful structure. That's what we want to see for our bearish structure. Then sideways movement. Lower high here, which is great. And then, but and that's technically a pullback. It's not a great pullback, but it pulled back to test this low. And then now we've just seen it kind of trickle down like a slow moving waterfall is what it is. So again, don't think because the trend line's broke that it's over. You need to see higher high, higher low. Technically kind of a little pullback here, but we're talking 3 candles, guys. And that's a little evening star, which is beautiful to see. I love candle patterns. I mean, you see them all the time. Technically, that 3 is an evening star. That's kind of sloppy there. This one right here, these 3 candles, beautiful evening star. Really good. And they don't have to be 3. They could be 4 or 5 candles. So it could be, you really want the outside 2 to be about the same size. This green one, this red one. And then the inner ones, you could see 2 or 3 or 4, depending on the time frame you're on. But they need to be small candles. And these are 3. 3 are ideal. They're perfect. So you got an evening star there, evening star there. Yes, things pushed. But you could probably go through and look and find bullish patterns as well as you look. Okay, so like a bullish engulfing pattern here, which means it's going to move up. Well, it did a little, not much, but we're on a 3-minute time frame. So don't look at those and say they're golden. Here's really a bullish pattern here. Those 2 candles, bullish engulfing pattern there. Doesn't mean it's going to move up clear up to here, because I'm on a 3-minute time frame. They just don't hold a lot of weight. So again, I'm not thinking bullish yet. I always forget where this tool is. Don't know why. There it is. I need to put it on my lower toolbar. So right near where it's at, it's testing the bottom of a 4-hour zone, which again is off a swing high or low. And we're talking larger swings. So if I'm even going to consider getting out of my short and going long, I would have to see it come up, something like this. And technically that's a higher high than over here. But ultimately I'd need it to come in and form a higher low before I'd even consider that. And ultimately for me, I will not trade this long till it breaks out through the 4-hour zone. Okay, so I'm not going to look to get in this, and I'm done for the day on Platinum actually, but I'm not going to look to take and close my short till I see a higher high and higher low form, and then really by tonight, I'd love to see it break back up above the zone. It needs to be above this zone or below this zone before I even look to get into a trade. I don't want to take it if it's bouncing in there. If it forms a range and it comes back up to the top, and I'm talking nice range, not sloppy. If it pulls up and hits the top, pulls down and hit the bottom, pulls back up, well then I'd look to trade it up and down, but it has to be a nice setup. It's a riskier situation, so I'm not and plus you don't have micros on this, so you can't go down to like 3 or 4 micros. I'm not looking to get involved with that in Platinum. And again, here you have to decide. So for me, I'm going to move my stop right now a little bit more. I'm going to move it above the zone at that point. We've pushed to the bottom of the zone. So what do I got? About 500 on the bonus. I could close it out and be up 500 on this one. And most of you guys have heard me talk about how much do you need per day, per month. If it's $2,000 a month, it's not much. It's 500 a week. This one trade will do you for the whole week, plus the other lot we had on other contract. So I've moved it. So if it does pull back out of that zone, I'm going to look to go bullish. And my first target would be, my first main target would be this outer trade line. My second main target would be up here, this zone. That would be my ultimate target. Just like over here when I traded short. When I got in short, I didn't know it was going to go all the way down to my zone or even through the zone and hit the bottom of it. Had no idea. We make a trade plan and we follow that plan and we adjust our stops. Give it room to breathe, give it room to pull back, and then we're riding that. So for a lot of people getting in that, they look and say, well, there's my zone target. And then boom, it hits there. Boop, I'm out, close. Well, I got all this extra and I left my stop up here. So right now, my stop is moved to where most people would close out. And I might get stopped out there. If it pulls back up here, I might get closed out. What I'm probably going to do is if I see it pull up here and form a high and a low, high or low, I'll probably just go ahead and close it. But that could take all day. That could take the rest of the day and be the end of the day. If I can leave this on and leave it on and have it on for power hour, it doesn't always move a lot, but it could be a little extra if it continues. But you're looking more for power hour to be ES and NQ. But gold, I don't know, I did one on gold last week, I think. Sorry. We got about a minute left. Nothing exciting, guys. So this was a good trade overall, but this is why you let your runners go. Don't close it all out. I don't use targets, or I use targets. You see my targets. My targets are all listed over here. Those are my targets. And those are what I pull partial off of. And that's what I keep closing. If I have more and I want to scale out, I'll pull partial here and there off those targets that are labeled. I never, ever have used a limit order for a target to close out an entire trade. I've never done that. I don't recommend anybody doing that. Look at what you'd miss. So if I were to put on, let's say you could do micros on this, and you put on 10, it pulls down, and this is a personal preference again. Do you close out half, 50%, 60, 70, 80? You know, do you close out 5 or 6 or 7 of those contracts, 8 or 9? Say you put on 10 and close out 8 and let 2 runners go. So you close out 8 on the pull down to lock in money that you need per month, per day, per month. Move your stop to break even. It continues on. You close out 1 down in here somewhere, and then it keeps moving on. If you leave that bonus on, now you're just managing the stop like we are now. It's a nice, controlled, slow movement, or should be. Shouldn't be that as exciting, and it shouldn't turn your stomach or give you a headache. It's something you got to get used to, but you have to say to yourself, I'm going for this. I'm going for the big bonus. That's a pretty decent bonus for most people on a trade, okay? So that's why you're writing the bonuses. They add up. So just this one little bonus is 460. A lot of times the bonuses are about 100 or more. That's because we have on a full contract on this, and that's why. But a lot of times they're an extra 100 or so. Well, you do that if you just do that 3 days a week and just get $100 on a bonus 3 days a week. That's an extra $300, $1,200 a month. Okay, so it adds up. Anyways, I'm going to stop the live feed. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I might come back for Power Hour. I'll look to see how ES and NQ look and gold, and then we'll come in during Power Hour and play around, and only do it with part of the profits that we locked in for the day. That's all I'm willing to lose. All right, hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you on the next one.